4 most disturbing
On December
Reddit
10,
threads.
2024, Reddit user SuperHeatran2 shared a disturbing discovery they made on the RBI2 subreddit. The post read, "Terrifying film found at a thrift store. Found this film photo at my thrift store inside an old Kodak carousel box." Alongside this, they posted a picture of the eerie film strip they found. Now, I'm gonna have to blur the image as it's a bit too graphic, but it basically shows what looks like an undressed human body lying on the floor between a bed and a wall. The floor is also covered in blood, with heavy splatters staining both the bed and the
What the?
walls. It looks
Wait, what if it's a promo to Ken Carson's album?
like a picture someone took right after committing an absolutely horrific crime. Most importantly, it looks disturbingly real, far too authentic to be dismissed as part of a horror-themed art project. About 30
No bullshit. I'm not gonna lie. As fucked up as this sounds, that could be a great promo for Ken Carson's album. Yo, you walk into a thrift store and you just see a film. You grab the film, right? And it's like some Mexican gore, right? And it looks real. And you turn it around and it says more chaos. And bro, there's a barcode of his album. I'm not gonna lie, that is actually a crazy promo.
minutes later, the OP came back with an update describing their actions after finding the film, which only made it seem even more legit, reading, "Hello everyone, sorry I'm on my phone, so I'm leaving an update as a comment. Here's what I did. When I saw the photo, I was curious and pointed into a contrast area to look at it, and my body jolted because I was shocked. I didn't buy the Kodak carousel and just took the photo and went outside. I went to another store next door and called the non-emergency line describing what I saw and that I felt like it was a genuine photo. They told me they're sending an officer when available. She said she didn't have an ETA. The dispatch person told me if I can wait at the thrift store, and I said yes. I'm waiting in my car as of now." About an hour after that, the OP posted a second update, this time describing their interaction with the police, stating, "The officer arrived a bit after I posted the update. Him and I looked at the photo, and basically he was just looking thoroughly and asked me where I found it, and I just described where I found it. Then him and I walked to the thrift store and showed him the exact box I found it in. He sent a photo of the film to a coworker and spoke to him on it. He then took down my information and told me that he's going to take it to the people who can properly process the image to investigate it.
They would have to do fingerprints on that Kodak as well, right?
I basically told him how I just thought the carousel was cool, so I opened it to see the condition, and I saw the photo and thought someone left a family photo, so I checked, and it was definitely not a family photo."
Yo, no bullshit. No bullshit. This goes back to don't buy certain stuff at thrift stores. I ain't gonna lie, that shit be cursed with bad juju, bro. There's a reason they sell that shit, because the spirits is probably still on that mother. Don't buy statues. Don't buy flowers. Don't buy, bro. I ain't gonna lie. Like, you heard it from me first, bro. There's a reason that this scar is on my eyeball. I'm not just saying this to say this, bro. Shit, y'all think I'm trolling. I'm so dead ass. And ever since I bought all that in that Canadian thrift store, bro, like, bro, I need to save myself, bro. And you're talking about the motherlands. Canada has the motherlands of Native Americans, bro. There's definitely bad juju in some of them thrift stores.
I also gave him the time I found it, which was a minute before I took the photo. He then said if there's any more questions or things, he'll reach out to me, but he says it's unlikely since I just found the photo and don't know much about it. He then said thanks, that's all he needed, and then took the box and photo, and then began to walk to the thrift store worker to ask questions, but I left. That's all I have so far, and if I'm being honest, I don't know if I'll get any updates from them, since I'm sure it's hard to go off of a film photo, and since I just stumbled upon it from chance and have no other information other than what I said. Now, usually when something like this is posted on the internet, there's a lot of skepticism surrounding its origin. The first thought most people have is that whoever made the post faked either the whole thing or parts of it for online attention. But in this particular instance, the vast majority of people were convinced that the OP was telling the truth, simply because the picture looked a bit too real. They urged the OP to post more information about where and how they found the film, which they complied with by posting pictures of the box the film was in. One person asked for more details. "Was that the only image in the carousel?" "Yes, it's the only image, but it wasn't in the carousel, it was in the middle of the carousel."
So they wanted, if this is real, that person either is trying to scare somebody, or they genuinely wanted, like, murderers be doing that, like leaving clues purposely so this could like go on a hunt for them. I feel like that turns them on or something, because bro, who is the murderer that purposely left information Yeah, the Zodiac Killer. He left like a logo every time he killed somebody.
An hour later, Super Heatran also posted a clear picture of the film by using their Apple Watch as a bright backlight. This only confirmed everyone's suspicion that the picture exposed onto the film was indeed real, with one user writing, "This doesn't seem fake. If it is, it's really well done." They further added, "I feel like if it was fake, it would be either more or less gruesome. But there's something about the positioning of the body, the fact that it isn't a more attractive body type, read thin and beautiful for better optics, and the natural pattern of blood on the wall that indicates the victim fought and didn't die immediately.
That's weird.
Visible hand/finger marks on the wall in addition to smudges and splatter. Just doesn't seem like it was some type of dark art project. Obviously, I can't say for sure, but I watch a ton of true crime and fiction crime shows. The difference in brutality and realism of the crime scene photos are easy to distinguish. But if this film strip was real, what was its origin? The carousel containing this film appeared to be from the mid-1980s. In another thread, the OP also mentioned that the film was sticky, stating, "I didn't smell it, but yes, it was sticky, as in it would stay on my index finger after pressing on it." This hinted at the old age of the film, as they tend to become sticky when left in a room temperature box for over a decade. So the possibility of it being from the 1980s and early 1990s is certainly high.
Crazy.
As for the disturbing contents of the film, there are countless possible explanations, each just as plausible as the next. Some users suggest that maybe it was a trophy photo taken by a serial killer. Which begs the question, how could such a thing end up at a thrift store of all places?
Literally.
One user tried to explain this.
They don't see who like gives these items to the store. You know what I'm saying? Like who's the person that gave that item to the store? They don't have like eligibility to see who's the person that donated it. But you're telling me like they don't know like who the fuck donated that fucking box?
With a personal anecdote, writing, "My mother lives in a seniors community in California and there's a Savers just around the corner. When the old people die, a lot of the time their kids pick up what they cherish and dump all the rest of their parents' stuff at the Savers. Could be the person who donated this didn't know what was on it." That said, a more reasonable theory I came across stated that the film likely belonged to a criminology teacher, reading, "I think a likely possibility is that the carousel belonged to someone who taught classes relating to crime scenes. The photo was accidentally left in the box because it had come away from its slide frame. Only suggesting this because I once found something similar from a house clearance and I knew the person taught some criminology classes."
Oh, that makes sense.
Another distinct possibility is that the carousel originally belonged to law enforcement. This film could have been evidence relating to an already solved case, and someone simply failed to make sure the carousel was empty before donating it to the thrift
disgusting
store.
though.
Whatever the case may be, it's unlikely we'll learn the truth anytime
That's actually a good theory though.
soon. It's been months since the original post, and the OP hasn't made any updates. It's possible they'll get a call from the police at some point with an update, but at least until then, the film strip depicting what appears to be a horrific crime remains an unsolved mystery.
Like the one video, the guy falling from the building and the pole goes up his. Oh yeah, I seen that, and it literally goes out of his mouth, bro.
November 3rd, 2024, a Reddit user shared the unsettling sight they came across on a hike in Austin, Texas, reading, "Stone crosses in South Austin. Anyone know what's up? Went hiking with my sister and dog today at the Westgate and Stastny area, and we kept seeing piles of rocks made into crosses. We stopped counting at 11. Does anyone know what these are? One of them had animal bones mixed into it. Weird voodoo or just memorials?" Alongside this, they also shared several images of the many stone crosses they—
Bro, this Cardi working overtime, bro. Yo, I'm not gonna lie, bro. Opium really working overtime. Like, this is just all promo to I Am Music and more chaos, bro.
they described in their post.
Holy.
Pia also provided some more context in later comments, stating, "We didn't see anyone around, but there was a ton of trash back in the woods. It was creepy though, with cross after cross. Felt off. Definitely going to find new paths to walk the dog because I don't want to meet their architect." Usually, discoveries like these will lead to some interesting but predictable answers. For all we know, these could have been part of a ritual site of sorts from centuries ago, or something along those lines.
Centuries
However,
ago.
that wasn't the case here, as some of these crosses contained modern materials like concrete and painted metal fence posts. In other words, these were a lot more recently.
What if that's the murderer's weapon?
Which begged the question, who made these and why? To this, one user gave a very urgent and concerning response. "Call APD/311 and tell them you think Rami Zoeda is back in the neighborhood. He escaped custody from a mental institution in June. I don't know whether he is still wanted.
What?
Good luck getting APD to do something. Google him and talk to your neighbors.
What the f?
Put simply, these crosses were the work of an unstable homeless man named Rami Zaweda.
I'm not entering your camp.
In the last few years, South Austin residents say they have spotted Rami Zaweda building sculptures, taking a sledgehammer to city property.
Nah, bro. Invite this Paris week, bro. I ain't gonna lie.
Screaming at all hours of the night and cutting down trees in the greenbelt using a chainsaw and machete.
From what I could find online, Rami is originally from New York and struggles with severe mental health issues and violent tendencies.
Oh yeah, Cardi would love this. Cardi would love this.
As a local resident described her account with him, stating, "He's very profane. He's beginning to target me and my little dog, talking about murder, calling me obscene names." Reports of Rami disturbing locals go back years. Like this similar Reddit post from another Austin resident from December of 2023, reading, "These weird rock cross formations appeared seemingly overnight
This
in a
some
little
GTA
green space
side
between
quest,
West
bro.
and Menchaca.
A homeless
Anyone
is
any
making
idea what they may
crosses.
be
You have to
for?"
follow him.
While looking through the wooded area surrounding these strange sightings, I even
Whoa.
found what looked like Rami's base of operations. A quick search on the guy also shows
What
that
the
Rami's been doing this for quite a while. He'd been arrested 6 times in less than a year. However, all of the charges were either dropped or dismissed. He was also ordered to undergo temporary inpatient mental health services back in April of 2024.
Yeah, some Red
but
Dead.
managed to escape from the hospital within a few weeks of his detainment to continue his work. The same work that was later described by the OP in early September.
What if he's not mentally ill? And what if he actually knows the truth? You know what I'm saying? Like, we think this is mentally ill, but like, what if half of them know more than just us, and that's why they're claimed as mentally ill? Like, this probably knows something that we don't.
As their post picked up steam, more and more locals joined the conversation to share what they knew about Rami as well. As it turns out, Rami wasn't just a misunderstood artist who should have been left alone. He was highly unstable and posed a great threat to the people in that neighborhood.
Damn.
I live on Westgate near Stastny, about 1 block from where the crosses are. I just recently found a smart key outside of my home, a verified lockpicking tool in the back patio area, and am truly
What?
concerned he tried to break in but gave up very recently. Last year around this time, he would specifically target my home and steal water from my downstairs faucet, carrying
What?
large gallon containers of the stolen water on his bicycle. I filed a 311 report and have reached out to the APD
What
district
the
representative and left a message.
That would creep me the out. It's 4 in the morning. This in your basement grabbing water, bro.
But 311 told me I should keep calling. They have 14 days to respond to my concerns. Super great feeling. I'm feeling very, very uneasy and scared. I believe I saw him once. What happened is that I saw a man outside my apartment building casually stroll by, bash someone's windshield in with a sledgehammer, and casually continued strolling. Zaweda had a sledgehammer he used to break decorative white boulders that were on the side of the street. It appears he has now made crosses onto the broken rocks. He also had a chainsaw and cut down numerous trees. He said the devil was in the trees. He did
What the
this day and night for months on end. Not only did he destroy property, he threatened to murder people out for walks. Oh, and people said he has sawed stray cats in half. Now, from what I could find, he's never been charged with any form of animal cruelty. That said, the OP did find animal bones in a few of the crosses he built, so it's possible there's some truth to the statement. As for his motive, a journalist who spoke with him reported that he claimed to be, quote, taking out Satanism. Apparently, he believes that these woods are the worshipping grounds for a group of Satanists, making these crosses his way of purifying the landscape. Regardless of his reasoning, it's clear that he's mentally unwell and is a danger to the public.
What if he's like actually like right though? What if he knows? You know, like what if this actually knows though?
There are already rumors of him attacking stray animals, and it's not a stretch to imagine him turning his chainsaw on a person if he sees it as a necessary sacrifice to fulfill his goal. Thankfully, something of that nature hasn't happened as of yet. He was arrested again in late September and was even sentenced to 240 days in jail. But since he had already spent a long
That's still scary.
time in confinement in the past couple of years, his sentence was deemed served and he was released. At the time of writing, Rami is still out there and posing a threat to the people around him.
Where's this located? Imagine a stream, like finding this, like he's Sasquatch or something. Oh my god, I would actually be terrified. I would never do that dumbass shit.
On the 14th of December 2017, Reddit user She's Such a Riot made a post about a bizarre and unnerving experience they had many years ago. The post read, "Humans walking in hamster wheels. When I was about 16, I came home from hanging with friends. I was a huge cartoon fan, still am, grabbed some food and settled into my bed to watch Nickelodeon. I knew it was Nick because it was the last channel I watched that day and no one shared the TV in my room. So I turned it on to see this creepy black, white, and gray scene where hundreds of humans are walking in a line over these hills in the background towards these giant hamster wheels in the front of the scene. They're walking towards the wheels as a few people are already in the wheels, walking endlessly and mindlessly in this robotic, zombie-like state. The people walking toward the wheels are also in this similar state, as if there's no life within their eyes. They're just cold/robotic. There's this cold, wind-like noise whistling in the background. It looks real, not animated, and as I watch in awe this dark scene, I come to a similar conclusion and ask myself why Nick would have something so live and non-action, really, as the entire scene keeps just repeating itself of more humans walking towards and in these hamster wheels. I start thinking maybe it's just some weird short, and
I just don't understand. How could you come up with a story like this and be lying? Unless like you're like trying to like make a book or something, you know, like a ass book.
It's kind of cool in a dark sort of way. But minutes go by and it starts to get dull watching this same scene, not doing anything else. So I quickly change the channel to something else, when in a split second I realize, wait a minute, what did I just watch? And change it back immediately, only to find SpongeBob mid-episode. You could tell SpongeBob was on for a while, not like the weird short played and it just came on. Freaked out, I keep going back to surrounding channels thinking maybe it wasn't Nick, but nothing has the hamster wheel video on. It felt really dark, almost evil when I watched it, and though seemed somewhat interesting at first, it started to feel really wrong after a while. So that, lined with the repetitiveness of it all, made me change it. But now that I realized it wasn't on any channel in the first place, I was really creeped out, and still am to this day. I don't know if this was necessarily a shift in reality or something sinister, paranormal, or really a short, etc., but I have never been able to research and come up with anything about its existence since, including researching that day in 2005 when it happened. I'd like to believe it was some dumb film project, but I can't find any evidence of it ever existing in reality as we know it. If anybody knows what I saw, I'd love to be debunked. Still somewhat wary of my TV till this day. I should mention that this was posted on the Glitch in the Matrix subreddit, a community which gives credibility to theories like shifts and glitches in reality. But that said, if this particular story really did happen, it raises some very concerning real-life possibilities that are worth considering. The idea of randomly coming across something so deeply unsettling on TV, only for it to vanish without a trace, is terrifying on its own. However,
why did they not record it?
Makes this particular case even more disturbing is just how many people remember seeing something similar in the past. I'm pretty sure I saw it too. I think I saw part of this. I actually think I remember this. I know I saw it too.
Damn.
Though if it
was 1993.
Was real, how exactly did it happen? Some people tried to explain the weird occurrence with a more mundane answer, suggesting that it might have been an ad that was played at the wrong time, with one person writing, "Sounds like a commercial that glitched through the network. It does happen, but it's pretty rare. May have been an ad for an antidepressant or a PSA. Probably wasn't a broadcast intrusion."
Damn.
However, this
it's 2005?
Theory falls apart quickly when you consider that this happened on Nickelodeon, a kids channel. Any ad or PSA featuring seemingly nude people would have never been allowed on that channel in the first place.
But if it interfered, like, you know, radio stations interfere, so. And back then in 2005, it had antenna TV, so if you had an antenna TV, it was probably catching service to the next station.
Another just as likely theory is that this was the result of a TV hijacking, similar to the infamous Max Headroom incident that happened during a Doctor Who broadcast back in 1987.
I'll get you a hot drink, miss.
How do you guys have recordings of this? It's like some Saints Row. Wait, I want to know how the f did they hack into the TV?
Kids channels were frequent targets for these signal intrusions. More importantly, many of these hijackers chose to broadcast explicit or unsettling content after gaining access, similar to what the OP described in their post. As for why there's no information about this hijacking online, a comment from a deleted user shed some light on it, stating, "I'm not sure what happened considering the year, but back in the day, television frequencies often got hacked.
Damn.
It's called a broadcast signal intrusion. Max Headroom is often the case most referred to. However, it is possible in my mind that this was either swept under the rug or not reported, considering it was on a kids channel in a period that was still technically before the popularity of social media. However, even if we assume it was a TV hijacking, that still leaves us with a massive unanswered question. What exactly did the OP see on their screen that day? Was it from a movie or a TV show or something else entirely? One user posted a link to Metachaos, an animated horror short film that shares some similarities to what the OP described in their post. Unfortunately,
What the f?
this likely isn't what the OP saw that day. This short doesn't feature anything even remotely close to walking in a line or running on a hamster wheel. Also, it was released in 2010,
That's like some Gears of War shit.
a full 5 years after the supposed hijacking.
What if it was a promotion for this game?
A more recent comment suggested something far more plausible, reading, "Okay, I know this is a dead topic, and I don't know if someone already said this before, but do you think it maybe could have been related to anything of those old MacBook Lemmings commercials? I just saw a compilation of a few and it reminded me of this." These ads depicted a group of zombie-like people marching single file up a mountain, blindly following the crowd, how doing so could
Yo, you know what's so cool? Like when you watch like this, it just gets my head going like.
to their doom, and how Apple's upcoming Macintosh can save them from this fate.
On January 23rd, Apple Computer will announce the Macintosh Office. You can look into it, or you can go on with business as usual.
More importantly, these ads were also released way back in 1985, so there's no issue with their timeline. While they don't perfectly match the original description, like the people are clothed and there are no hamster wheels, that simply could be a case of the OP misremembering details from 12 years ago. They could have also mixed in the memory of what they saw on TV with a similar dream they had the same day. Unfortunately, despite dozens of people looking for the answer, this Reddit thread remains a mystery to this day. The OP's account was also suspended sometime after making this post, so it's unlikely we'll ever get an update.
What the f? Makes sense,
In April
Myron.
2020, an anonymous
sense.
user turned to the relationship advice subreddit.
Cause you gotta think, Myron, right? All you have to do is pay them f***ing hackers chump change. You get a third party, not the exact, like, you don't get the exact, like, say Treyarch did do this. You pay a middleman that pays somebody else. So it's not tracing your tracks. Shit.
Seeking help with a deeply unsettling situation he found himself in. He wrote, "I think my girlfriend and her sister are poisoning me. I'm an 18-year-old guy. I moved out of my parents' house as soon as I turned 18 because, well, let's just say they and I get on much better if we're not under the same roof. My girlfriend, 19, and her sister, 24, already had a flat together, so I moved in with them, and that's how it's been for the past 9 months. Generally, things are fine. I love my girlfriend and I like her sister. Our living arrangement / setup is really no different from any other couple living with a flatmate situation, perfectly normal. Now, both of the girls love to cook. Their dad is a Michelin star chef, so food and cooking was always a big part of their lives. I'm fine with this.
How would he know they're poisoning him?
I'm not a bad cook by any means, but these two are amazing at it. Plus, we have a fair trade. They do all the cooking, I do all the cleaning. I find cleaning very cathartic, so it's usually a sweet deal. I get really bomb meals cooked for me in exchange for doing something I enjoy. Things have changed recently. It started about 3 weeks ago when the whole quarantine thing got really ramped up. I started getting sick. At first, I worried I caught the virus, but it just wasn't the virus. No respiratory symptoms, no cold, nothing like that. Just stomach cramps and horrible vomiting. I figured at first I'd caught some other bug, but then it came back, again and again. At least 1 to 2 times a week for a couple of days at a time, I was getting these episodes of stomach pain like you wouldn't believe, and spewing my guts up. I couldn't figure out what was up, until I spoke to a friend about it, and she asked if it was maybe something I'd been eating. Now, I don't have any real food allergies. I'm a bit dodgy with dairy, but not on a feel like I'm on death's door and vomit all the fluids out of my body level. More just bit of discomfort and spend ages on the loo type of stuff. Still, I mentioned it to my girlfriend and asked if she'd changed anything about how she was cooking recently. She got really weird, defensive, asked what I was accusing her of. I said I wasn't accusing her of anything, I just think I might have developed an allergy to something and want to know what it could be to. She told me I'm just being paranoid and I just have a bug. I dropped it because she seemed really annoyed. Since then, I've noticed some weird stuff which really is making me paranoid. Like, they shout at me to get out if I go in the kitchen while they're cooking. I've offered to both of them on several occasions, hey, I'll cook tonight, but they vehemently turn me down and seem almost offended I'd offer. They both keep giving me these glances at mealtimes, like they're waiting to see how I react. If I say I don't feel good or don't want to eat, both of them take it as a personal attack on their cooking, and if it's my girlfriend, she'll cry until I cave and eat it. There have been times when one or both of them seem to know I was about to get sick after eating. They text each other when they're in the same room if I'm there. I think they think I haven't caught on to that, but it's obvious honestly. Neither of them is particularly sympathetic when I do get sick. I don't know, maybe I'm being
He probably got a lot of money and they're trying to kill him. They can get his will.
paranoid, maybe quarantine is getting to me. But I'm really because they're doing something to my food to make me ill. It's the only explanation I can come up with. Thing is, I don't know what to do. If I confront them and I'm wrong, I'm a jerk for even thinking it.
If that's how you feel, bro, confront them. Like, bro, confronting them is better than dying.
If I confront them and I'm right, I'd really appreciate any advice or wisdom here. Thank you in advance. One of the top comments on this post gave the OP some solid advice for finding the truth, but this only made the situation seem even more suspicious. Switch plates with one of them either with or without their knowledge. If they know you want to switch plates, they will refuse, which would be a red flag, or if you switch without their knowledge, you would be able to see how the plate originally meant for you affects them. They're always super particular about
That's a good one.
making sure I get the right plate.
That's a good one.
I hadn't thought about asking to switch. But the thing is, this could have gone either way. As one commenter pointed out, I've seen this before, it was a post on here. A person's husband was a cook and started using some kind of spice. He didn't believe it was making her sick, she got tested and was in fact allergic. He confessed and they reconciled. In another post, a fellow was using garden slugs in his girlfriend's meals on purpose. You need to consider both possibilities.
That's scary, bro. Hell no, that's why I can't have no. Keep me away from these hoes.
The second half of this comment was referring to a now deleted post from March of 2020. In it, a woman sought advice on what to do after making the horrifying discovery that her partner of 4 years was putting garden slugs in her food.
What?
In addition to being incredibly gross, this was also highly dangerous as these slugs can contain brain-eating parasites.
Wow. Wow.
Put simply, there was no obvious answer to the OP's predicament. On the one hand, it's entirely possible that the OP was just being paranoid. This could have also been an early sign of a mental health issue, where he's seeing patterns and behaviors that don't actually exist. A few people also suggested a gastrointestinal test to see if there was something wrong with his stomach. This is because conditions like Crohn's disease can cause persistent digestive issues regardless of diet. It could have also been a combination of the two, where his real symptoms were making the paranoia worse. But as this one user mentioned, a potential poisoning wasn't entirely off the table. If we assume that the OP's observations are completely accurate, there's a good chance that he was getting poisoned. What makes this even more sinister, however, is that his girlfriend and her sister were disturbingly deliberate in their actions. They didn't lace his food with a stronger poison, because then the OP might go to a doctor who would likely find the toxic substance in his system. Instead, they were poisoning him slowly, likely in the hopes of keeping him oblivious until his eventual death. Many people took this possibility seriously, with some even brainstorming ways for the OP to protect himself without jeopardizing his relationship if it all turned out to be a misunderstanding. I don't have a magic bullet answer for you, but I can tell you what to do. I would play dumb, announce that I would be cooking for myself from now on because it would not be fair to force my new, as of yet unidentified on them and their amazing cooking. From there, I would be careful about my food. If I open it, it gets used all the way, nothing left open. All of this would serve twofold. First, if you still get sick every other week while having full control of your own food, you know something bigger is going on here medically and the paranoia toward them is unjustified. If it works, you might just need to work on getting the hell out. All this being said, the most important part of this is to play dumb and stand your ground, claiming it is all for their happiness and convenience. Unfortunately, we'll never know if he followed the advice from this thread, what ultimately happened, or even if he's still alive. He made this post with an anonymous throwaway account, which was also suspended shortly after this thread's creation. From what I could find, there haven't been any further updates on this post from any other accounts either. Maybe one day the OP will return with all the answers, but at least until then, we can—
Imagine he watches this video and he returns, he's like, yeah, I killed that. Imagine.
Relax, bird, been out then, this is legit, nigga. 5-star dinners, 5 stars on my bitch, nigga. Band 10, fat shit up on my wrist, band him, could've been anything I want, I get, nigga.